Chapter 27. Food for the starving girl.
There are many reasons to dislike parties. There are too many people. It's too crowded, too loud. Your terrible family trying to murder you with your eyes from across the room. And worst of all, Cecilie always eats all the food.
Cecili Flickil from La Nom Va des Emile, libretto by O'Neill of Marat, and music by Jean-Baptiste Verdigeon. Footnote to the translation of the title is The Apple of Destiny. It's a Sylish comic opera. Pavokit. After all the dull official business was over, we decided to get on with our mission, finding out as much as we could about the situation and the places under Cinnis in occupation. Katya immediately began asking about how things fared in Powatina and the Commonwealth. I, meanwhile, hung back and looked around awkwardly, trying to avoid my family, and catching a few snippets of conversation, something about the southern Lepusian man who was running around stealing and burning flags and killing innocent soldiers. I spotted Lita standing nearer than I would have liked and tried to stealthily move away.
Where are you going to, Makenyok, dear?
Katya asked. Oh, I said, I wanted to find some food.
Really?
Said one of the people she was talking to. Countess, I think. That is a shame. I was hoping to learn more about you. Katya is an old friend of mine, but I have never heard of you. I froze, unsure of what to say, but Katya stayed confident. I have many siblings. You cannot have presumed to have heard of all of my nieces and nephews. I suppose, said Katya's friend. She turned back to me. You may leave, but could you come back soon? I am curious about you. Yes! I searched awkwardly for her name, but gave up. I can do that, I continued. She sighed.
Lady Van Ketcha.
Yes, thank you. I left to go look at the food. Sol was standing by the table, looking strange and uncomfortable in the robes of a servant.
Can I help you find something, Lord?
He asked. I cringed, then cursed myself for cringing. He cringed too, but was much better at hiding it. No! I stopped myself from saying his name or some honorific. No, I will be alright. I wondered if denying his offer looked suspicious. He grabbed the pastry and returned to Katya and Lady Van Ketcha, who were joined by a Vixic woman with green eyes and a purple robe, and a little stick of a girl I guessed was her daughter, practically a toddler with huge brown eyes. Katya smiled.
Timo Kenyok, you have returned.
Yes. Hello, Aunt Lady Van Ketcha. Who are your friends? I said.
They're not my friends, the little girl said. Then Alinka, the one entreated, be polite.
Lady Van Ketcha laughed. She's right, so. I would never be friends with a Vix. The girl's expression twisted into anger, but she was silenced by a glare from her mother, and settled for crossing her arms and looking grumpy in the way only a small child can. So, who are they? I asked. Her weakness, Alika, the granddaughters of nothing, and their daughter, Lady Lena. Lady Van Ketch explained mockingly. This time, Lady Lena's anger was too great for Grandduchess Alika to control.
Mama is not weak!
Lady Van Ketch glared at her.
Draconic child! Lena, politeness!
Grandduchess Alika scolded. Her tone was much fiercer than it had been before, but I could not tell if it was from anger or fear. Lady Lena blinked, confused.
But she's being mean.
Grandduchess Alika sighed.
I apologize for her behavior. She has not learned her place yet, it seems, she said with a pointed look at Lady Lena.
Well learned to control her, Lady Van Ketcha said. We do not want to get the Duchess involved. Lady Lena sighed and whimpered and clung onto her mother's robe. Yes, my lady. Grandduchess Alika looked down, putting one hand on the girl's head protectively. I was not sure how to react. Sympathy, and to a lesser extent, neutrality, would look suspicious, but siding with Lady Von Kitch would make me feel sick, and I was not sure how convincing I would be. Katya was calm, though. I could see a hint of anger in her. I wondered why a noble like her would support the Vixic resistance. The Emperor would have treated her and her family with favor. What reason would she have for betraying him? Lady Von Ketcha turned back to Katya. How is your father? Katya shrugged. I do not know, nor do I care. A loyal servant of the Emperor does not associate with traitors like him, and it never makes sense now. Her tone turned angry. Does not realize that the Emperor is trying to get justice for him? For all of us who were hurt by that sham of a war? Her anger sounded genuine, but I suspected it was for reasons she was not sharing. I do not know, and so many of them think the same. What is wrong with them? Lady Von Ketcha said. Katya sighed. I do not know. Lady Lena tugged on her mother's robe. Mama, I'm hungry. Lady Von Ketcha glared at her, and Lady Lena flinched under it, shrinking back behind the Grand Duchess's robe. Draconic girl. I am sorry about her. May we be excused for a moment? No, Lady Von Ketcha said with a smile. Yes, I am sorry. Grand Duchess Elika glanced at her daughter, concerned. Lady Lena began to whine, but stopped, looking at one of my clothes hungrily. I looked down, remembering the pastry I'd gotten. She looked up at me with those huge eyes, and I noticed for the first time how thin she was. Had she been getting enough to eat? Can I have that, my lord? She asked. What followed was a suspiciously long period of me trying to say no, and then failing miserably and giving her the pastry, which she ate excitedly, treating it as if it were the most precious thing in the world. The poor girl looked half-starved. How could I just deny her food? The rice was so round and innocent. I simply could not bring myself to eat it when the girl was right there, so small and thin. Katya's worry slipped into her expression for a second. Grand Duchess Elika was looking at me with a combination of worry, surprise, and gratitude. And Lady Von Ketcha's expression was filled with contempt. Lord Temokchi, she said. Why would you do that? She glared at Lady Lennon. Her pastry, one that I was surprised the girl couldn't feel. Given food their kind. Before I could answer, I was interrupted by a voice that said chills down my back. That, or it was just a conveniently timed breeze. Well, Lita walked over, smiling. I thought I smelled weakness. So, I was standing next to Pavokit. I was close enough to hear his conversation, but far enough away that it wouldn't look weird. I was awkwardly holding a plate of fish. My arm was tired, but I wasn't sure if I should switch which one I was using or not. Now, this problem wasn't nothing compared to what was happening to Pavokit, but it, and wondering if I looked weird, was the ones my mind decided to focus on. This was something I would have done, even if I wasn't a spy trying to listen in on my friend's conversation. Pavokit froze, looking suspiciously panicked. What do you mean by that? Rita smiled. Oh, you know exactly what I mean. He shook his head, but it was clear he didn't mean it. No, I do not. Katya looked calm. My lady, I believe you have the wrong person. This is my nephew, Tmokchi. Rita shook her head. Either you are being lied to, or you are a traitor. This is not your nephew, and his name is not Tmokchi. He is Pavokit, a deserter from the Synis army, and a traitor. What is the meaning of this, Katya? Lady Von Ketcha asked. The Grand Duchess was holding her daughter close. She looked glad no one was paying attention to her, but still worried. I wasn't sure for who. Katya shrugged. She was trying to hold on to her recovery, even if Pavokit was gone. I do not know, she frowned. How did you not realize that he was not your nephew? I have many siblings. Even I cannot remember all of their children. Besides, Bokchi is a common name, but he looks nothing like you or any of your siblings. The Catania, could you be a traitor as well? Alita said. Pavokit would never have been able to come up with something like this. I managed not to look offended by this. Pavokit was only mostly successful. Alita smiled. Well, my lady, we all know who your father was, the fallen war hero. How do we know that you do not follow in his footsteps? Katya glared at her. I am nothing like my father. She sounded very convincing. I wondered if this was once true. I would never say he was a traitor. Well, he is your father, but I suppose that does not always mean as much as it should, Pavokit. This time he completely failed not to look offended. I managed so. Should I move? Am I supposed to be doing something else? Does this look suspicious? Why am I thinking about this right now? I thought. So you are him? Lita smiled, laughed. I never thought you would show your face around here, so you were never the smartest. She looked around. Are your little friends around here as well? They must be. Svatok. Moving seemed like the obvious choice, but I was drawn to movement. Maybe if I stayed still, she wouldn't see me. This was wrong. I found myself being dragged over. I dropped the plates in the process and spilled whatever it was on the floor. I blinked. I'm sorry, milady. Is there a problem? I filled as my robe and glanced at the mess. Can I clean that up? Old Robesiac, whatever your name was, Alita said. I blinked, looking as innocent and confused as I could manage. I don't know what you're talking about, milady. She sighed. All right, go clean that up. She shoved me away. I gathered up the food and left to throw it away. Maybe find one of their spies to try and get their help. Well, one of our spies. Most of the castle's Vixic staff were working for one resistance or another, mostly Juanins and VLF, because they were Vixic, and it paid better. It didn't pay much, but Vix were working for the Empire, one paid nothing. I found a liquor and Flink at the end of the room. These fell on the floor. Do you know where I should put them? I asked. Yes, said Flink. I will show you. We walked to the kitchen. Once we were away from all the partygoers and only in the presence of Vixic cooks, I said, the candle is broken and the glass is broken and the candle burned out. Flink turned around, visibly confused. What? I sighed. Katya and Pavokit, they're in danger. He frowned. Why did you say it like that? I blinked. It was in code, so no one else will know what we're talking about? We didn't agree on no code. Why do you think I would understand? But Katanya means clear, like glass, and Pavokit means little flame, like a candle. I sound like a sinner, I thought. Oh, he frowned. That ain't good. What happened? He gave Lady Lena pastry. His sister heard and revealed his identity, I explained. Feeling sad. That ain't good. I laughed dryly. Of course it ain't. Now what are we gonna do about it? I ain't sure. We can't help him much without risking ourselves, and I don't want no more of us getting in trouble. I frowned. So we should just let him get arrested? He shook his head. I didn't say that. If it's obvious who he is, we can't say he ain't. We can do small things, so we could, sneak him a weapon or open the door. He smiled. If anyone questions why we opened the door, we could just say it was out of force of habit and, well, we're just stupid fixer. We could never come up with something like this. One of the other cooks laughed. You're right. Even if everything says you're working for a resistance, they'll dismiss it because of that. They'll punish you, but they won't arrest you. Good to know. Thank you, Faust, Flink said, smiling. We left the kitchen. Katya and Pavokit had left. The room was silent save for musicians that were still awkwardly playing. The attention was now focused on the Duchess, the Grand Duke, and his family. The Grand Duchess was standing in front of the usurper's throne, keeping her eyes down. The crowd formed a ring around them, giving them a wide berth. The Grand Duke Storm was standing at the front of the crowd, holding his daughter tightly as if hoping that he could somehow protect her from the Duchess's wrath. Ilika, my friend, I'm very disappointed in you. Duchess Janyoka's voice rang out in the near silent room, clear and menacing, her orange eyes burning and her jewelry gleaming over her dungeon back scales. Your Grace, please, the Grand Duchess Ilika started. Duchess Janyoka's eyes flared. Do not interrupt me! She shouted. The whole room flinched. Lady Lena whimpered, burying her face in her father's chest. The Grand Duchess looked at the ground. Yes, Your Grace. The Duchess's tone became calm again. Now, your weakness. I rolled my eyes as I did every time I heard that title. A 5-year-old could make a better insult. What you have allowed to happen is a terrible thing. Grand Duchess Ilika's hands formed fists. What do you mean by terrible? My daughter is starving. It is not terrible things that they did, but simply what any good mother would have done. I allowed her to eat. Silence, said Duchess Rod. A soldier behind the Grand Duchess Ilika hit her in the back with the flat of his sword, and she fell to the floor. We will not tolerate this insolence, Lady Lena whimpered again. The Grand Duchess stood shakily, keeping her green gaze on the ground. Yes, Your Grace. Your daughter earned her punishment. You allowed her to break it, and not only that, but you did so by stealing from a Synisan. She didn't say that Pavokit's relationship with the Emperor wasn't very good, but no one complained. That was a treacherous act. She looked thoughtful. I think it would be fitting to give you the very punishment that you broke. Grand Duchess Ilika bowed. Yes, Your Grace, I am. Duchess Janyoka cut her off. It was not finished. Wave of anticipation and dread rippled through the crowd at her tone. She nodded to some nearby soldiers. Break her knees. She said this very casually, as if giving them a normal, less evil order, like, fetch my cloak. I hadn't expected her to say it with dramatic music and lightning crashes like in an opera, but I had expected something more grave. Felink put his hands over my eyes. Felink, he hissed. I ain't 5 years old anymore. I'm sorry, he said. Would you like to see what is happening? I sighed. No. So I couldn't see what was happening. I could hear it perfectly well. The sickening crack of breaking bones. Grand Duchess Ilika's cries of pain. The Grand Duke trying and failing to keep Lady Lena calm and quiet. The murmurs that rippled through the crowd. Ones of fear and anger and triumph. I could feel Felink's anger radiating off of him like heat from a fire. I felt the same. As the Grand Duchess said, all she did was let her starving daughter eat a pastry, and now she wouldn't be able to walk for at least a month. Any mother, any person with a heart would have done the same. I got her. Celia, UotT. It was Tola and Alicia. Her voice, a harsh whisper that contrasted with her melodic Arachne's accent. We're leaving before you decide to burn this whole place down. Frank removed his hands and he went back into the kitchen to ask if there was a quieter, less suspicious exit. The cook from earlier left. Of course there are. Did you think that in 700 years of invasions we didn't make no secret exits? Not necessarily, said Felink. She guided us to one of them and we disappeared into the light, hoping that Leah's crescent wouldn't show too much.